an existing home. We checked in. We can go to the city to reach out to the city, make sure if everything that was on the property before we even send the contract, make sure everything was, permitted approval. So to make sure that, you don't fall into the trap that where we're currently helping a lot of people, after they purchase a home.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Carline Cadet Francois. I am here to serve you. I help busy professionals convert buildings into licensed assisted living facilities in Florida. Today, I am here with my number one contractor. Me and him be on the phone talking about how to help you succeed in assisted living. And today we're going to let you into some of our conversations on how we talk about helping you. Djemcy Limage is a general contractor, a civil engineer, and a realtor. Like, who put those titles together, right? I am just so super proud of him, of how he positions himself to be able to serve the ALF community with those titles. Today, we're going to go into certain topics. It's going to be quite a few of them. You want to pay attention to each and every one of those topics. Before I go into the topics, we are trying to grow into our first 5,000 followers. So if you find any value in our videos, please consider to like, to subscribe, and share it with someone that will find value in it. Also, share some love to our guests, okay? Give him a call, let him know that you found him on our YouTube channel and what was your most aha moment that you received. Today, we're going to go into AHCA construction's requirements for ALF and group homes, step-by-step permitting process for ALFs and group homes, common pitfalls with permits and delays and how to avoid them, to coordinate zoning, fire marshals in building departments, navigating state, county, and local government agency approvals, ADA compliance in ALF constructions, backup generator compliance requirements, budgeting cost-saving strategies without cutting quality, real-world lessons from ALF projects, benefits of early collaboration between contractors, which is what Djemcy does, and ALF consultant, which is what I do. So I'm going to go into Djemcy's bio and tell you a little bit about him before we introduce him. I'm super excited to have him on the show today. Djemcy Limage is the co-founder of President Xplo Group LLC, a full-service general contracting firm in Florida specializing in ALF permitting, new constructions, remodeling, and real estate development. With over a decade of experience in construction management, civil engineering, and project oversight, he has successfully led major residential, commercial, and government projects across the state of Florida. Djemcy is passionate about helping ALF owners navigate the complex permitting and construction process, ensuring compliance with the AHCA, the Agency for Healthcare Administration, zoning, fire safety, ADA accessibility, and backup power requirements, all while balancing cost and quality. Djemcy is also a father and a really good husband, and I met his wife. Djemcy, I am so super excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Welcome, Carline. Wow, what a great introduction. Well, thank you, Carline, for having me on the podcast today. I just want to take the moment as well and to thank you for the great work you're actually doing in the community. It's very, very inspiring. And again, this introduction was very, very, very amazing. And then again, my name is Djemcy Limage, as you mentioned. I am the co-founder and president of Xplo Group Construction, and the company is actually based here in the state. We actually focus on multiple tasks in terms of ranging of services, including new construction and ALF and group homes, permitting and management. We work across both sides, which is the residential and commercial sectors as well, and bringing the best out of us and what the client needs and what they're looking for and how can we bring that. I've been in the industry, like you mentioned, for over 10 years. And from time to time, we have the opportunity to collaborate and work for some great sectors from Florida Department of Transportation and some other companies as well, and gaining a lot of experience. On that, I've actually right now, at the moment, we are one of the directors for NAP, which is a Haitian National Professional Organization that we helping with the mentorship programs, just to show you, the impact that we see to kind of help with supporting educational and development program. So I serve on the board as a director, helping out, bringing the best and prepare the next generation to comes. So again, Xplo Group, it's not just about, buildings. It's about, building communities and prepare the next generation, that has mentioned, building people, community, and creating some great opportunities. Say again, Carline, and this is it. And we're going to have some fun here talking about, the ALF and group homes. How do we get to that? And what are we doing right now? And what type of the projects that we are currently doing? Again, this is it. And it's good. It's good to be with you.
I love that. I love that. And by the way, thank you for the work that you do in the community, because it's hard to come across someone like you who you are very well positioned to really help someone. Years ago, a friend of mine had an issue with her house, and she needed a couple of things done around the house, and she ended up calling the wrong contractor, and they took advantage of her. Imagine coming across someone like you who value setting up the stepstones for the next generation while serving the current generation right now that needs your help. I want to commend you on the work that you're doing and how well that you do it. I like to go into the background. I'm like, how did you end up putting this recipe together, right? Of your background. Can you tell us a little bit about how did you end up picking the type of services that you chose to study, and how did you end up picking them and combining them together, because they work so well?
Well, it's so funny. And I want to just take a little time to very explain to the audience and to you, how do we start? How do we get there? And I, as you know, my background, construction was, when you talk about engineering, it was just seeing people building homes, and there was nothing else. I remember when I was growing up, the area where I used to live, it was mostly my mom built her house there first, and there was a vast of land, and everyone that's actually coming, and then they will leave, they cement, they block everything, bricks over my mom's house. And I would took some of this and then to build my little houses. And then from time to time, people who said, no, you're gonna be doing engineering, But I grew up around a lot of agriculture and also politics, families and things like that. But when people see that, they were already calling that out. And '05 actually comes here to the US. And then, in Haiti, all I know about construction engineering was construction, building homes. And when I went to Broward College, and then I realized that, it's time for me, because I graduated from Correspondence High School. And then it's my time now to register for my classes at Broward College, BC. So you do your associate degree. And then when I went to the system, and I saw a lot of things, and then had a couple friends, and then kind of reach out and say, okay, this is what the program is. This is what classes that you need to take, because I actually registered for engineering, industrial engineering, because again, I didn't even see civil engineering on that part. I think my friend and explained to me the process. And then I started to see, there was so many other things in engineering. There's design engineering, there's transportation engineering, there's environmental engineering. There's so much more. I'm like, oh, wow, this is pretty amazing. And so, like I said, there was someone there for me that walked me through the process and make sure that I register for the right classes, make sure I pick up the right major. And then, so that's what I actually did. So after Broward College, graduate to Florida International University, FIU. And then that's when I go and then continue my education on, civil engineering. And I also have a minor in international relations. So, and then kind of combine these two together. So from there in 2013, I started doing my internship with Florida Department of Transportation. And then now after graduation, so you need to have the sector that you end up working with because it's general. And then that's when I had the opportunity to work for a transportation company and planning. And then that's how it gets to doing a lot of experience. And working through that, I was able to do a lot of what you call traffic impact analysis. So I work and then doing a lot of, big ALF, because again, you have the residential aspect of ALF. You also have the commercial side. So when you're looking at the commercial side, you bring a lot of traffic. So the county, the state has to look into that. And you also need what you call driveway access. So you don't just come in and then build, just like, for the residential side, it's pretty like low level, in terms of planning. But if you're doing a big commercial ALF, then you need a whole team. So you need to first start it with architecture, so once the engineering start working on the plans, so now you need to what you call the traffic impact. This is the planning side of a big commercial ALF. So with that being said, so you started checking out the traffic, the impact. So the city or the county want to see the impact that we're bringing. If we're having 140 bed, that's going to bring a lot of traffic with the people that come in to see their parents, their patients, the people that come in to work. So we need to evaluate all these things all together. And then that's when I start getting a lot of goosebumps about ALF and the industry. And then from there, and then I met my friend Olsen, 2011, 2012 at FIU, and then he introduced me to the real estate market. And it's like, hey man, I'm studying for this exam. I think, we should do it. And then that's how I get into the real estate. And I'm like, you know what? It's like, you are a salesman. You could do a lot of things and let's do this together. And then I went and studied and then passed the exam. And I've been practice real estate ever since. And it has been very, very good. And then since we have very good background in international relations, so we stay away on what's going into the international market. And then we saw that there was going to be a change coming to the real estate. And then also when we sell a home, the client always asking, I need someone to do this. And I'm like, oh, there's an opportunity there. So how can we grab it? And that's when, we decided to kind of bring and focus on the general contracting industry. And then when you see the engineering, you see the real estate, and you also see the general contractor. This is where you see someone doing that, because then we realize that when we work with a client, they don't just get the general contractor, they get our ideas as engineers as well. So we kind of like has a combine and then explain to them, this is what we see, this is what we do. And in terms of, explaining on that side of the background, how do we get there? And then my wife, she also have MBA in healthcare management, and she's also a BSN. So when she was doing her clinical and things in her, because she was mostly in compliance, that's something she really likes. And then I was seeing her study and review certain things, and then she will be telling me every time she come home, she'll be telling me about, these ALF and rules and regulation. And I'm like, okay, when she start looking into it, and then I'm like, okay, good. We passed the exam for the general contracting. We start seeing like there's something that we need to focus in. There's so many people in the community that's actually focused on building this ALF. And as you know, the state of Florida, people are coming in, and then this is how we get to the, background and focus on the ALF, which is one services that we actually provide to help kind of be an expert on that field, helping everyone. And that's how we get to connect, because ALF, we're talking about ALF, you got to hear about Carline. I'm like, okay, I went and checked you on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh no, this is what she's doing. And I stay consistent. And then here we are.
But this video is brought to you by the Florida Assisted Living and Caregivers Conference. It is an annual conference for all those who want to open an assisted living right here in Florida. We bring you all of the who's that will help you achieve your ALF. We have caregivers, we have people that already have their assisted living up and running, and they are here for resources. We have caregivers caring for mom and dad at home, but lack resources, so they show up for more resources. We have investors that are in the room looking for partnerships because they don't necessarily want to manage, but they are looking for someone to do the day-to-day while they can do the other investments. We also bring to you all of the sub-industries, those providers that help you get your ALF up and running, the providers that will come to your ALF to provide services to your seniors. We bring everyone in the room for the first time. This event normally sells out. Click the link in the description and I will see you in the room. My God, that is so amazing. That is so amazing. I love your journey and your consistency. When I tell you, Djemcy was on that email and started following me up until, because my assistant manages my email. I noticed you to the point where most of I don't do in-person lunges because I'm one of those people that calculate every minute because my day's got to be so properly structured so I can serve my community. I ended up having lunch with Djemcy and his wife, and it was so amazing. I mean, we have so much in common, not just with him, but with his wife. Rose is so super amazing, and I can see her coming into the industry and just shining. I'm like, you got to get this process going. I think you guys are a power couple, the way that you position yourself to serve the ALF in the caregiving community, and to see your wife do what she do and then what you do. I mean, I'm like, we got a partner. You got to become my partner, because I've always been looking for my go-to person that I can send to my clients. And so when I met with him and his wife, and I'm like, yeah, we're just gonna do this. And so I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to have my audience tap into the conversations that we normally have. And one of the things that I want to talk about, because just about every single person that has purchased an existing home for residential assisted living. I know you also deal with the commercial setting. We're going to focus on the residential setting for today. I think it will be more relatable to our clients. When it comes to construction, what make ALF construction different from standard residential or even commercial projects? We're talking about the residential. What makes it so different?
Great question, Carline. We start by saying it's the planning phase. A commercial ALF, you might start planning for years, and because there's so much comes into it. But residential, commercial, it's much more easier. But it's much more easy, but you also need to have the right team in place, so it doesn't kind of like waste a lot of time along the way. With that being said, so this is the best for residential ALF. We actually starting by coordinate first meeting with the client, and remember, this is not a big corporation that you're meeting with, because it's not really commercial. This is only 2 or 3 people, maybe sometimes 1 person that you're meeting, and you need to be prepared to tell them, because sometimes they don't even know exactly anything about what they're gonna what they're going to do, and you come as an expert to provide them with the right and correct information as possible. And difference for the commercial ALF and residential in terms of planning. So I think the right way is, you as a consultant, you have the client reach out to you, and now we come in as a general contracting, helping with the permitting phase of the process. And then before you get there, so you need to see exactly what are this home, what are the condition of this existing home. And once you get there, you start looking, you start giving advice to the client to make sure they understand what they're going to get themselves into, and in a very, very comfortable, nice way for them to know exactly, since they're already starting the process with you, they already know what to expect, and then which is make our lives easier. So when you call, for example, someone that you're working with, call us, we already know exactly where to take the process and continue with it. Again, the difference in planning, it's time management. So it takes longer to prepare for a commercial ALF, and a state roadway, it's even more complicated. So then a residential ALF that takes less time. But again, it might take you longer time, but if you don't have the right team in place to help you with the process.
Absolutely. Having the right team in place makes a huge difference. And usually when those clients come to me, even those who are not my clients, they call me asking for everything. And I thought to myself, oh my God, what if I didn't know? Right? I'm like, oh my God, what if I didn't know? They call me and they expect for me to know everyone that can help them. It's because having the proper team in place help me to help them, help me to keep their process moving. When I can say, Djemcy, this client needs X, Y, and Z. This is what AHCA is looking for. Of course, I don't know how to do those things because I am not a contractor. I don't know what to do, but I know what it's supposed to be, what it's supposed to look like, right? So when I send them your way, literally, you are helping me to help them keep the process going, because as you can tell them, when it comes to permits, we know we need fire alarm, fire sprinkler, generator, reserve gas, all of those things installed. What does that look like as a contractor to you? What does that permitting process look like?
All right, Carline, I will walk you through the process, and just bear with me. Take some time for the audience to understand exactly what the process is. Once I receive that phone call, say, hey, I'm working with Carline Djemcy, and she referred me to you, and I need some help because we actually want to put up an ALF in this location. And once I receive, that phone call, what I did, I asking the client, when are they available? So we schedule a meeting, because again, we don't just do things over the phone. So we meet with the client at the property. So when we get to the property, we look around. Some of the client, they already renovate the property, which is we're going to talk about that later, to see, the pros and cons about doing things before you meet permit approval. So when we get there, we're looking at the house and then see what they want. So first of all, we're looking at the floor plan, how things are, and then the room size. We measure the make sure the rooms are within the threshold that AHCA we requested, and from there, and we looking if there's any what we call illegal home addition or garage conversion, because again, I once we get there, we just want them to know, because some of the client, they have no idea. So you come in, as I mentioned earlier, as an expert, to walk them through the process. So after we look at everything and we realize that, okay, they don't need too much inside the property. So much of what they need is the fire and electrical, which has connected with the backup generator, fire and sprinkler. So all these things that we're going to be needed to design the engineering plan for. And then with our engineering team, subcontractor that we work with, and then we tell them this is phase one. Phase one is this part of the job after they meet with you. You know what I mean? Apply for the zoning process, make sure everything is in order. And then from the floor plan, once you get zoning is approved you, then we come in. So we come in on phase one, which is the engineering plans. When your engineering plan is set up, your electrical, you have your fire and sprinkler system. And if some of the client, they want to add a patio, if they want in the back of the property, so they can have the client more relaxed sometime. If they don't want to stay inside the property, they can sit in the back. So we also add all these structural plans together. And then once we get that from the engineering team, so that's when, we go to the next phase, which is the permitting phase. So now you go to the city, you apply, you create the portal, make sure you upload the plans, and that can take a long time. It can take a shorter time, depends on who you work with, and some of the client also have their own architect, or engineer that they work with. And so we have to be coordinate, back and forth once we get comments from the city. So we have to provide those comments to the engineer that they work with, or the architect, make sure that they revise the site plan, the plans, make sure everything is in order as we're doing the coordination. So yes, so the process, phase one is the engineering plans. Once that's done, we go to the permitting phase. And once your permit is approved, then that's when phase 2 comes, so what we call the construction phase of everything. But within 2 times, I have to coordinate with you. So I say, hey, Carline, to make sure what we're doing, it's coordinate with AHCA. And I tell client, oh, you hit AHCA, you hit ALF. So you need to think about safety and also safety and accessibility. So these are the things that you need to be thinking about, because once you hear setback of a property, there's a reason why the city a minimum setback, because in case, especially for ALF, there's a fire, they need to have access. You know what I mean? And with zoning, you dealing with the land use. With fire, it's for safety, make sure everything is in order. And then when it comes to the building department, it's more structure. Make sure your structures are in place and everything is exactly where it needs to be. And then we're gonna have some inspection, every phase of when you start construction. So this is where you get a lot of, schedule inspection with the city, make sure everything is coordinated. When the inspector come, they're not gonna be nice to you. So they're gonna come exactly looking for what they need. So you make sure everything is done as code compliance as possible. Make sure everything is in place until we get our CO. Make sure everything is, you get approved, and then all the processes continue on and on, on and on. But again, there's different challenges for every property. I keep telling clients, every ALF is different. Every house is different, as we know in real estate. So we don't do comparison, because you might think, oh, my friend has an ALF, this is the same setup. But then again, your property might have done something that was done like prior, that was done illegally. And these end up costing some of the client a lot of money. And that's what I always tell when I get there. So this is a good business to get in, but it's gonna, sometimes it costs some money to bring things up to standard the way you want. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, if you hear AHCA, you hear safety and accessibility. So make sure everything is up to compliance.
Thank you for explaining that. You did a really good job explaining it.
Thank you.
You will be surprised. You're welcome. You will be surprised how some people get it wrong. Okay. They'll come to me and they'll say, yeah, I have the fire alarm and the fire sprinkler being installed right now. And I'm like, did you check for zoning? And they're like, no, we haven't done that yet. We called and they said that it was zoned. And that's the end of that, right? You know that we help with the zoning process. And so working with someone like Djemcy just makes life so much easier for me, because I'm able to call him. I'm able to say, based on what you do for this home, it needs to look like this, and that, because I know this is what AHCA needs to see, right? But then you have other people that will renovate the entire home, knowing that you still have to come back to break the walls for fire sprinkler system. Why would you do that? Right? Have you ever come across situations like that, Djemcy, where someone...
A lot of callings, especially the past few months, we've been dealing a lot with those issues. So last time there's a property in West Palm Beach that we have a call from a client that somebody provide them with our contact information. When we get there, and I think, the new generation, they really focus on luxury ALF. And I think there's nothing wrong with luxury ALF, but you need to be up to compliance, And when I check out the bathrooms, I saw like very shiny glass and things, the grab bar are missing. I'm like, I haven't tell her, I haven't seen anything yet. And also there was no ramp, and the hallway to go to the bathroom was about 24 feet, very tiny. And she said, oh, now I'm ready for AHCA, I don't know, she was working with someone else and ready for inspection. And when I think the consultant came and they realized that she was not ready yet. And when we asked her who did the work, she said her uncle and friends, and kind of come up together and help out with the renovation process, because she was trying to save money. Again, when we get there, so we told her that, you're gonna have to redo a lot of things, especially, the bathrooms, there's the ADA compliance, there's a way, everything has to be when it comes to the, bathrooms, the kitchen, the hallways, all these things as requirement that needs to follow. So this was one home. that we get into, that we're trying to coordinate with the client, because again, there's gonna be some excessive, work to be done at the property because the bathroom was not done, right. And then the sink, we also need to kind of change the whole cabinet of the kitchen, because again, she has a sink and that was a single sink there. And then, she has to change that to a dual sink. And because for the food process, as when I saw her face, and I think she coordinated with the consultant, and she found out that, yeah, all these things has to be compliance. And that's one of the issues that, we run into. The other one was another couple, and they were ready to go on, with the ALF. And then they say when they were trying to purchase the property, look for a property that already have a generator, right? And yes, property has generator. Like I said, I always encourage them to talk to the consultant before you do anything, because you're gonna help them, Carline, put them in the best situation as possible. So people's trying to stay away from having this issue, right? And when we come in, and they have a residential grade of generator, so that they have a commercial grade. So now they have to, we already save some money. I don't want to say the amount because everything is very so and the electrical plan, everything has to reset, because when we do the electrical calculation was completed, guess what? They needed a bigger generator and wire issue and things, as the money start piling up, and then more money. And now the thing has been triggered because they have to hold a 500-gallon tank, to hold the 500 gallon tank to kind of like power the generator for 96 hours. So, after the ERMA, so the state require, every ALF to at least have a backup generator just in case if something happened. So now when we get there, so the process right now, we're going on with it, and it's a lot going on. So those are the mistakes we want people to avoid. Not just working with someone over the phone, design the plan, send it to you. You have to do field visit. This field visit is really, really important. Connected, asking, even though the client doesn't know what they need yet, but have a conversation, bring them to the project, even though they're away, talk to them, make sure they know what you're doing every step of the way. And again, I can start, calling other projects. Another one was, another ALF, they're converting the garage into a room, but they're telling me, we purchased the house just like that. I told them, if you purchase the house, whatever carryover has a new owner, you're responsible for it. Now you have to fix the garage, make sure it's, into compliance. The patio was converting. We need more spaces for our office, but you're not gonna get approved because the city gonna come. If non-living square feet and living square feet is two different things. So they're gonna measure your setback, and if you don't meet the requirement, you're not gonna get approved. So these are the things that we see in the industry, and then we try to avoid, and asking the clients to work with the expert, you know what I mean, and to avoid this costly mistake that's happening. And that's what we hear. And that's what Xplo Group, in collaborating with you, that we're gonna really, really help people find in the right direction on savings, instead of, plan before and then call and say, okay, I'm ready for inspection. And then some of the people, they think they know everything until they made a mistake, and where we come through and help them out.
Yes, I've seen so many of that. Literally, people say, I want to save money, and then end up spending way more money. Because I will tell you, when you fail to hire a consultant to help you with this process, our onboarding looks something like this, right? You meet with me. It's not with my assistant, even though they help me with the back end, some of the back end stuff. I go over, you're going to need this, right? You're going to need generator. You need to have your fire panel renovated. I don't do the work, but I know exactly what they need. And I go over, I make sure I go over, you're going to need this, you're going to need that, you're going to need this, you're going to need that. And you need to prep for example, the proof of ability to operate, because sometimes they'll forget about that. This is typically, from what I've seen, you need about X amount of money. Here are the ways that you can get that. Here are the ways that you can get creative with that. So we go over everything they're going to need, so no surprises come about. And this is why working with a consultant, working with the proper teams of people, help you save money. Because I will tell you, you will come across people that have reached out to me and they say, oh, I'm ready to submit my packet to AHCA. And I'm like, what's your door measurements? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, go take a measurement tape. This is how you measure it from here to here. Take a video of your home, send it to me. Do it slowly so I can see. And I'm like, oh no, you're not even halfway there, ma'am.
Yep.
Here's Djemcy's information. These are the things you need to call him about. And then, of course, too, when you get there, you end up finding other issues that I probably didn't even see because you're a contractor. You're like, this don't look like there were permits pulled for that. Do you have permits for that? And different things like that. But then people are in this race of thinking if they can just pretend like they are saving money, they are saving money. When in reality, it is not true. You're losing money, in fact, because the longer you wait, you're not open, you're not operating, you're not bringing in clients, you're not making any money, yet it is expensive to start an ALF. You have a lot of things to do. And relatively to the money that you can make, it is not expensive. But until you're open where you're making the money, you're not feeling that money. You're feeling the expenses. And so I highly, highly recommend that you start with a consultant. You reach out to those resources that I am bringing to you. And you do not wait last minute. Have you come across those, Djemcy, that call you and they're like, oh, I have inspection next month? I come across those that reach out to me last minute. AHCA sends them an admission letter and they have several pages of that because of all the things that they didn't do because they thought they were ready. They send their application to AHCA and now AHCA comes back with all these things that they have to do. And guess what? They have 21 days to respond. That 21 days includes weekends. And so usually they sit on it, try to figure it out themselves. And then when they cannot figure it out themselves, that's when they call me. But I have a schedule. I may not be able to take your case right now. Djemcy, I'm pretty sure you have a schedule. You may not be able to satisfy the last few days that they have left when some of these things require time to get these things completed. So really, I find that clients are trapping themselves in it, and it's not helping you. Why would you trap yourself when you have people and you have the proper resources that can actually help you? Besides those horror stories that we can talk about, how do you work with, let's say I send you to a client, and I know how you do this, but I want the audience to know how you do it. Let's say I send you to a client. We know that they need all of the major installations. How do you work with them to where my clients, they are busy professionals. They wear so many different hats and they're in the process of opening their ALFs. So when they get to you, how do you make their lives easier? Are you like a one-stop shop type of service?
Yes, we actually are. So when we met with the client, as I mentioned, earlier, so when we meet, we check out everything in the property, and then this is when we will give you a call, say, hey, Carline, we're meeting with this client and we're checking out the floor plan, and then this is something that we got to sit and discuss with you to make sure, again, everything is in order based on what the client is looking for. So when we meet with them, our goal is to make their life easier, whether they're here or not. But once we meet with them the first time, we go over everything. So now we have access to that property, then we can go. We don't need them to be there whenever we need to do a field visit. But if we have a questions during design, and we will give them a call, and then we will also coordinate with you and say, this is what we want, the issue that we want into, how can we move forward? again, I always tell them also, when it comes to AHCA application and process, it's you, us as the contractor. Our process is to help you, because ADA is non-negotiable in ALF, non-negotiable. So when we're talking about these things, it's everything from door, like you mentioned, door width, bathroom layout, rep access. They have to meet federal standard. And beyond compliance, we always trying to design to make sure that you comfort for the people you're bringing into those homes. You know what I mean? And again, so when we go to that process, professionals, they're always busy. The first meeting will set us a tons, and then we have access to the property to prepare them for what's coming. And that's what we make their life easy. And as a one-stop, a shop for Xplo Group. So from design, we have a design shop that we work with engineers to make sure we have our plans signed and sealed and ready for permitting. So from permitting to construction. So all this package, it's done in-house. So again, as we mentioned together in the beginning, you need a team. So when you work with a team, one-stop shop, it makes life easy because you don't have to coordinate. And I see somewhere where, like, some of the clients, they actually hire another engineers to work on the plans, right? And then now when it's time for permitting and the contract, it did not mention that they will revise 2 or 3 submittals from the city. When we get those set of comments come in, so what's going to happen now, the engineers start charging more money, and more comments from the city, more money. Because again, you won't know until you submit your first submittal. So the city provides you comments, and then once the comments comes, you have to review everything. And if we did not work on the plans, we have to reach out to the engineers or the architect that work on the plans to make the changes. Us, we give the possibility, the opportunity to make sure everything is done in-house. All these things coordinate from like one desk to the other. And then that's what we do, which is making them at ease and also kind of like bundle everything and also save you money in one process with us.
You said something that's so important. I want to highlight it right quick. So basically what he was saying was you hired an architect to develop your plans for you. Because when you come to me, I will tell you part of the things that I mentioned earlier, the checklist we're going to go through so that you know what to expect and you start prepping onto how you're going to solve those issues is your floor plan. So what Djemcy is saying is certain companies will say that they will only, after they draw your floor plan, they will only cure like up to 2 or 3 deficiencies, for example. And if you need any additional deficiencies to be, or comments to be cured, they will charge you additional fees, which now you're in limbo because now you don't know what Djemcy knows and you don't know how many back course they might be. And so now you can't properly budget yourself. So one of the things that you want to find out if you end up working with someone that is outside of my network is to find out those specific things and to negotiate those terms if you don't end up working with Djemcy or someone outside of my structure, because I'll give you recommendations. And if you're someone out there who's working with another consultant and don't know these things, take them. Because like I said, you don't have to use my services or my teams. We just want to educate you and serve you and hope you're going to go out there and create a great home for our seniors to thrive. But know these things because they are important. And so when you work with those subcontractors outside of your network, what are some additional pitfalls that our people here should avoid or try to avoid? What are some additional advice that you have for them?
So Carline, so throughout our conversation, my advice is for some of the client, and I also share that with them. Last week, I went to see a property, but there was another client. The client brings someone to hear what I have to say, and then she's not even gonna she haven't started the process yet, but she comes and then to hear what are the issues that we found on this property. Advice is for them, like we keep saying in the beginning, is to find the right team to work with to avoid mistakes. Because again, so if you think you're gonna find someone to do your sprinkler system, someone to do your generator, it can create a lot of headache for you. And bundling some like a project like this, it can save you a lot of money and then avoid a lot of headaches and throughout the whole process. So again, the advice for some of the clients out there is to take a little time, because I know there's a lot of emotions, when it's time after they purchase the house, and then when they get the green light to start the process. And then we couldn't wait to start. Let's take a minute and then find the best consultant to work with. And then that's gonna bring everything under one umbrella where we can work together, again, to save you a lot of money, I say, and then time as well.
Absolutely. I love that. And I know also that you are a real estate professional. That has to play a part with how it combines into all of this. So if someone is watching this and they need a realtor, for example, to be able to help them find a house, to be able to help them with the proper zoning procedures. Of course, we provide that service. We also work with the realtor to make sure that service is being done properly, to make sure your zoning is secured. How do you use your realtor hat in a position like this?
So when we come in, let's say there's a client, they're actually looking for a home in Port St. Lucie area. And then they're asking us if we are available. They told us they want to do an ALF. So the first thing that we do, and then provide the contacts. So if they're already working with someone, so we're checking out the zoning requirement, because some cities and counties are different than others. Some, you might not have an ALF 1,000 feet away from each other. Those are the things that you want to check then. And then once you check, you don't want to just call the city and ask them that, I wanna, this is the house that I find, and then I'm interested on it. I want to set a contract. But us as realtors, so what we do, we make sure we have something in writing. If we send an email to the county or the city, says that, okay, this is the proposed planning for this project. ALF, are we within the zoning requirement for that? And then we start looking for property until they find exactly what what the client want, but we're still in the process and looking for. And then once you get that, so that client's supposed to reach out to the consultant that they're working with to make sure the process it's smooth as possible for them. But rules number one, helping them with our real estate, and then it's to find times in the right property for them. And then when we get there, we look in properties together. You can see, if this home is going to be able to fit them with what they're trying to do. And then also that bundle comes in is that we already see, and that can also save them more money. Our existing home, we checked in, we can go to the city property appraisal to reach out to the city, make sure if everything that was on the property before we even send the contract, make sure everything was, permitted approval, like a garage conversion, room that was added. So to make sure that, you don't fall into the trap that we're currently helping a lot of people, after they purchase a home. So again, when you use the expert that is in the field that know exactly what you want, then you save a lot of money. And we as experts, we are here for a reason. And people that have great testimony, like sharing ideas and say, hey, this is the cost of what I avoid by just working with an expert. So again, yes, this is great. Like I mentioned, from engineering, real estate, and general contractor, this is a lot you get in one bottle team of professional that you a client working with.
And I think that's what I love about your company the most, the way that you have been able to properly position the type of services you provide to really help if someone came to you and they are continue to be happy with you, with your services, which I'm sure they will, and they have no reason to go elsewhere. And honestly, they don't want to go elsewhere because that's less people to talk to, that's less time to spend on the phone, yes. That's less back and forth, that's
correct.
Just, it's just too much on their plate, and it really helps them to be able to focus on that one company that they're working with that is helping them with a lot of the issues that they need to solve. So we talked about ways that you can actually help clients save money. in ways that clients don't think they are saving money when in reality they are trapping themselves. What does compliance really look like? Someone listening to this, and we're talking about ALF compliance, and you're doing a walkthrough, you covered some of it earlier. What are like two most important things, if you were to add just two to it, that people should pay attention to in purchasing a house?
Again, in terms of compliance and then zoning, it's really, zoning is number one process. So to the process. So you want to make sure you check the zoning criteria. So make sure that, that there's not an ALF 300 feet away from you. And the other thing is the septic tank that I see, which create a lot of issues sometimes. I think that, also trying to help the client to keep on mind. I would rather you have an electrical problem or septic tank problem. If the house was designed, to accommodate 6 patient or 6 people before you even convert to ALF. So that septic tank has a threshold. So, with the county or the city where you at. So if you're gonna increase, let's say you add another room or you convert your garage from non-living to living now, so it's gonna impact the size of the septic tank that you need. And zoning, again, it's a part that we can name a lot of things, but I don't think I kind of touch on the septic tank, and that's a tough one that we always trying to help the client, to try to be avoid as possible. Sometimes you find a nice home, but then again, when you look for the information, you can't get it. It's going to make your life so hard. And you ask yourself, why did I even purchase this? And we don't want the client to feel this way. We want them to make sure the process is smooth as possible, and that's why, collaborating, with us once they comes in. So we relieve the stress that's kind of like costing them so much, and then give them the information. Again, for me, it's zoning. It's number one. And then from zoning, and then you go to that septic tank, I say, because I think we mentioned a lot of things before, but I don't think I touched on the septic tank. These are the other things that I find very, 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 very important. It has to be in compliance. Yes. And I so with the ADA, we talk about that. It's a non-negotiable. It has to be ADA compliant.
Absolutely. And ADA compliance is important because we are serving people that needs to have wheelchairs to go around. And so their wheelchairs need to be able to fit where they need to pass through. That is throughout your house, throughout your building. ADA compliance play a factor into your fire safety issues. And so even when I write your fire safety plan, I have to add languages on there for ADA compliance, because God forbid you need to evacuate your building. Even your window sizes make a difference as to evacuating those clients. And so accessibility, ADA compliance go hand in hand. And you mentioned a thing, and we did a video on this because the septic system is one of a very big pinpoints for some of my clients in certain areas. We service clients throughout the state of Florida, and we find certain areas still do have septic systems, and septic system is a pain. Literally, we have to get creative. And we have a video on this, and you could learn more about the septic system, but we'll cover a little bit here. One of my clients, we literally, and I shared a story about one that bought a house that they thought was 5 bedroom. I don't remember the number of bedroom, when in reality, it was 1 bedroom less. The added part of other side was an illegal bedroom that they placed, and they end up placing the bedroom very close to the septic system. And she didn't even know the home had a septic system. It was a mess. Okay. And then another client, we ended up having to add 1 less resident because we had to, the capacity of the septic system, we had to have 1 less resident to be able to accommodate the number of staff, the total capacity of the septic system. For another client, we had to go through a variance and ended up getting less clients than what we anticipated because of the septic capacity. And it's expensive to replace the septic system. So when buying a house, and catch that video to learn more, but when buying a house, and I'm glad you mentioned this, pay attention to those things. If you already have an existing home and you have a septic system, you can do something very simple right now. Call your health department, call your records department, and find out for your septic system, what is the floor plan, what's the capacity. Once you establish the capacity, that's when you will find out if it will be worth it for you to do the ALF as is within the capacity, or for you to replace the septic system, or for you to go and find a new home. So these are all the things that you need to think about. And I'm very grateful that Djemcy bring that up, because that is one big hurdle that can actually delay you, cause you to spend more money, and actually make you feel like you're not moving forward. So we talked about generator power compliance. You briefly went over some of the things that needs to be done. What are some ways that you help clients achieve those generator requirements, and of course fuel requirements? You do need to have at least 96, not just 96, at least 96, because I've come across people doing some crazy stuff. Okay. And I'm sure you've seen some of that. What are some ways that you actually help clients achieve those requirements?
I think, the backup generator compliant goes to the engineering plans. So when you're working and prepare the engineering plans, and that comes within the process of laying out from the tank all the way to the location where the generator is going to be located. And then they have to meet the minimum distance, requirement. And then, as I mentioned before, after Irma, Florida made backup power mandatory for ALFs. So the idea is to ensure residents always have safe air conditioning, lighting, medical access during, any outage, throughout the process. So again, we do that throughout the engineering plans, the location, because I have a client in Sunrise that called me, like, he already called the generator company and then put a slab to put generator, but he doesn't have her engineering plans. So now, the city went to the city said, you cannot install the generator. Those are the people that's go ahead and working with the process. So now you have to design like a whole engineering plans, and make sure, we show the city where the generator is going to be located, the slab information, and the panel, electrical panel, that will be rewired and everything. So again, in terms of compliance in AHCA, because it's directly tied up to the resident safety. So backup generator, this is a big part is that with AHCA, it's safety and accessibility. So you want to make sure these things early on, you start the process, make sure they're included. So the thing, like I said, you got to make sure your generator can run for 96 hours. And then depends on the capacity of what you have in the house. We always recommend energy efficient, which is very good investment for long term, because just in case when you're going to do your calculation, if you have an old AC unit, it's gonna consume more energy. That can affect the capacity of your tank. Sometimes it might be better to replace the AC unit based on the electricity load to kind of give you more, save you more money. That generator that you purchasing, that's gonna adapt and to the home.
Absolutely. And just as a consultant, when your AC stop working, you need to activate your emergency management plan and actually evacuate those patients to another property where the AC is working. Because if AHCA walks in, your AC is not working, you're going to have problems. So I've seen people try to cut corners when it comes to their fuel requirements or their generator requirements. Please don't do this, because you're putting your license at risk. You are causing you expose yourself to lawsuits. You expose yourself to angry parents of the seniors, their care, their power of attorneys, their children. And then you're supposed to be making a difference, helping the seniors to have a good life why would you do that to them, right? Why would you do that to them? So don't put yourself in that position. Structure yourself correctly from the very beginning. If you need a new roof, get that roof done. Don't get it patched up.
Yes.
Please don't do that. If you need anything else to be done to the house, stay away from carpets. Get those things done before we get licensed, because if you don't, you'll have to find a place to bring the seniors. It has to be some type of approved ALF, okay? And then you have to notify AHCA. You have to notify the family. You have to do so much paperwork when in reality, you could have fixed everything you needed to fix. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's easier said than done. Yes, you're spending a lot of money, but you're going to end up making that money back in some. And so consider working with someone like Djemcy to get those things done for you. And if you're not sure what to do, call him, have him come by. He'll call me, Carline, I went to X, Y, and Z. This is why I see. What are your thoughts? I'll call him. I say, Djemcy, my client said this, this, and that. What are your thoughts? Can you go see it? So it's like he positioned himself in a way that he can help you solve your problems. And it's resources that we bring to you. And I highly recommend that you use them.
And let me add it, Carline, by you just mentioned. And sometimes I even mentioned to the client, you go through the whole process to get your ALF approved. So now what? Do we just start having patients? So what about the maintenance? The maintenance is also really, really important. So yes, we build for you. We don't just leave you after we build for you. We have a continuously, contracts with some of the other ALF that we work with. So to come in maybe every so often to make sure we do the normal checkups, make sure you know the property, because remember, we're keeping these resident in, and that comes in because they want to be comfortable, and you have to make the place livable for them. And there's some ALF that I went to do some maintenance work. I recommend to the client that, you want to keep the patient, right? And if in order for you to keep them, if that's you're not going to have any turnover. But in order for you to avoid that, you have to continuously maintain your AC, make sure you checked on everything, make sure you don't have a that light up. You avoid the negligence. And I think after you get approval, you start bringing clients. Another way to avoid those turnover, they have to work with you. Make sure their binder are in order. Because sometimes they think they know everything, but you're going to go through the process. They work with you. It's not like we're done once after we get the work completed, but we stay there with you. Have a pipe plumbing issue, you call us. How who's going to come? It doesn't matter what time is it. We're going to come in and then make sure throughout the process, if we see something throughout inspection or every 3 months, 4 months inspection, we see something, we will alert you. He said, this is something that's avoid, like you just mentioned, taking another ALF. You know what I mean? So you avoid all this issue at once. Make sure you prepare for it. So again, it's good after the fact. Make sure we continuously keep the property nice and clean. Make sure, you do your little, just light maintenance to keep people coming to your ALF. When a patient comes to visit, say, be here. The backyard looks really nice. The front property look really nice, and so forth.
I love that. As a matter of fact, Djemcy, we are required to have those maintenance agreements. We are required to have inspections at least once a year. Some counties in cities every quarter for the fire inspection. We are required to maintain, for example, your sprinkler. They have to be inspected at least once per year. Your generator, all of those things, all of that play a factor into your emergency management system, which is a service that we provide. The health department have to come out once per year. And I find that people forget these things. They get caught up in the day-to-day of taking care of the client. And they forget that they also need to take care of the operation, the paperwork of the operation, right?
Yes.
So someone like me, for example, a service we started providing was we would let you know when when your inspections needs to be done, and do your emergency management plan renewal for you. I find that even though AHCA is going around checking to see, especially around hurricane seasons, that facilities have their emergency management plan approved, they don't. And so I've had to cure deficiencies for facilities that don't have their emergency plan renewed. And so now this is a service that we provide to help life easier for established ALFs that is struggling with managing, with keeping up with when is this due, how do I do it, and things like that. So maintaining that relationship with you, Djemcy, is something that is necessary. It's not even, it doesn't have to be you. I'm not telling everyone that you must use Djemcy, but why
Yes,
wouldn't
yes.
you use it,
Anybody.
right? But the service is necessary, and I highly recommend that you do use Djemcy to do it. Why not? So it's a lot to be able to get your ALF up and running, get the management in order. Oftentimes you work with someone like me and I put all the structures in place for you, and AHCA comes in, oh, you're beautiful, here's your license. You start
Yep.
bringing in clients, things start to happen, and you get wrapped up in the, and you forget you need to do this, you need to do that. If you don't stay in contact with me, if you don't stay within my community, if you don't tell me what's going on with you, you're going to go out there and you're going to get lost. So use the services that I provide to you, use the resources that I bring to you. My goals are to help you succeed. My grandmother raised me, and so I want the seniors to have good homes to go to, and that's why I provide a lot of good services. Any other thoughts for the audience?
Another thing, Carline, I think that's also really important, and especially with technology these days. And I always recommend it to the client to know who they're working with. You know, it's, you don't just go on Google, because I've seen where people pay and then the job, they call us to finish a job. And when you're asking what's happening, they don't hear from the contractor. You know, they don't hear from the handyman. So again, with technology now, you know, if you're working with us, Google our name, Google our representative, see who you're working with to make sure that the people that you're working with are reliable. So you're going to start the process and then you're not finish it. But with us, we're going to be with you from the time that we receive that phone call and all the way to the process. And then to make sure we baby the process to avoid mistake, like I mentioned earlier. So permit delays. So how do we avoid the permit delays? So make sure we don't, you know, incomplete drawings, not addressing safety fires, all these things, and working with multiple departments. The best way to avoid this thing is to bring enough, you know, an experienced construction companies and that have the right connection like you to help make sure we succeed together. So again, that's what I wanted to make sure every audience to know who they're working. Google people's name, check out their business. You know what I mean? Before you even get into a contract with them. So to make sure that, or sometimes you can even ask them for reference. You know, what was the last work you did? Let me talk to that client. Let me see better, you know? So this is really, 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 really important. And also, I said collaboration. I also want to with this because consultant, you understand us as contractors understand construction. So this is where, you know, we knowledgeable about AHCA, but we not Xplo group is don't do what you do. You know what I mean? And then we want the clients to know that if they collaborate early, they will avoid conflict like designs, space, you know, paper that is not completed. And all these things are really, 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 really important. And that's why our collaboration makes things strong, because we don't just stay and then helping. We make sure we stay innovative. We attend the conferences. Every move, every new innovation that comes to the process, we know it together. It's not like we working, so we have to constantly attending conferences, seminars, summit to make sure we stay up to date, and then to bring these things to you as the audience, as the client. Again, Carline, this is the last two things I wanted to, mention. Avoid the permit delays. It's really, really important. And also like collaboration between a consultant like you, contractor who understand construction, renovation, and throughout the whole process.
I love that. I love that. And it's not just for the construction or the contracting part of people going missing. I have come across different people that reach out to me because, someone would refer them and then they come to me and they will say, yeah, this consultant told me that they were going to help me with my AHCA process. I paid up front or I made a deposit and now I can't find them. Or I've been in a process for so long and nothing is moving and I'm tired. I want you to help them. So read reviews, people, especially working with someone that don't necessarily do consulting or that job that they do as a full-time career or as a full-time job. You will run into issues. And so read reviews, ask other people about what Djemcy just said. Be your best advocate. And if you don't know what to do, there are some things you're not going to be able to find in Google about this ALF industry. It will confuse you even more. Reach out to someone like me, reach out to someone like Djemcy. Collectively, we'll be able to help you. And quite honestly, I don't have to be your consultant for you to be able to reach out to Djemcy. You could be working with a consultant that you're most comfortable with and you happen to love them. If you have issues, you can still reach out to Djemcy. He's not going to discriminate against you. And for me, as long as you can take care of their seniors and you can give them a good life, that's good enough for me. I came to Earth, I loved, I served, and I helped people and I'm successful. And that's how I view life. And so use the resources properly. There is no strings attached. Education is very important, right? And that's why I'm bringing you the education. You don't have to work with me for you to use the education. Use it however you see, please. There's no strings attached. Like, I could see myself dying already. And I'm like, yep, I'm going to heaven. I came, I lived, and I served, and I lived the life I wanted to live. And that is enough for me. So anything else you say? Because I have nothing else to say to them because they're like, oh, Carline always talk about that. I do.
No, you know what I like, Carline, is every client that you refer to us, when I ask them how do they hear about you, and what fascinated me is that they're talking about your programs. Some of them tell me they see you online, they become a member, they follow you, and the way they see you, man, like I said, there's a certain things, there are callings. There's things that we practice, but there's a certain things it has to be in you. Again, I appreciate the work that you're actually doing in the community. And when we're talking about health creation, this is what we do as a community. We help each other grow. And I think you're doing exactly that. You don't keep everything for yourself. You're actually spreading the word, help people preparing the future. Just like you mentioned, you might wake up today, you want to be in the Bahamas, but you're still working. You want to be in somewhere in the world, but you're still assisting your client because this is what you do. This is what you provide. Again, Carline, keep up the good work. And I enjoyed this conversation. I can't wait for more. And thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure being with you all.
Yes, absolutely. It is a privilege for me to be able to serve people. And every positions I've ever had, I was in front of someone serving them, whether I was in office helping someone or I was in, police uniform serving somebody. Every single job positions I've ever had, I was serving someone. And for the first time, I've been able to serve people in a way that I am living my ideal lifestyle where I am serving people, pick up and go, pick up my little family and go. And I think it's a gift and I'm grateful for it, and it's an opportunity, and it's something that I treasure and I take very seriously to help my clients and to help them succeed, because that's what God sent us to earth to do. So I enjoy serving you guys. Clearly, it is evident. If you found any value in this video, if you learned anything, please reach out to Djemcy. Send him some love. We'll add his information in the description. Djemcy, I am so grateful that you spent the time to educate my audience today. And please consider to like, to subscribe, and to share this video with someone that will find it valuable. And thank you for spending this time with me, and I will see you in the next one, okay? Thank you so much. Talk soon. This video is brought to you by the Florida Assisted Living and Caregivers Conference. It is an annual conference for all those who want to open an assisted living right here in Florida. We bring you all of the who's that will help you achieve your ALF. We have caregivers, we have people that already have their assisted living up and running, and they are here for resources. We have caregivers caring for mom and dad at home, but lack resources, so they show up for more resources. We have investors that are in the room looking for partnerships because they don't necessarily want to manage, but they are looking for someone to do the day-to-day while they can do the other investments. We also bring to you all of the sub-industries, those providers that help you get your ALF up and running, the providers that will come to your ALF to provide services to your seniors. We bring everyone in the room for the first time. This event normally sells out. Click the link in the description and I will see you in the room.